Welcome to Gabbin' and Games. I apologize for being a little bit late today. Good to see everybody. I want to tell you a couple things. The number of the day, the number that you need to think about for today is the number 96. Now, why do I say this? I'm not going to tell you why. All I'll tell you is if you're driving in your car, if you're listening while you're doing whatever the fuck it is you do when you're listening to this thing, I want to let you know that the number 96, if you pay attention to video game news, the number 96 is a pretty big number, a pretty interesting number, let's say that came up during this week in video game news. See if you can guess it before I get to the story. I want to show you something. People were asking about Ken Levine. Tomorrow or Tuesday, one lucky contestant, here's how we're doing it. I'm going to do video game trivia. I'm going to do 3 to 4 questions. The players that answer those questions will get on the wheel. The person who wins the wheel spin gets to go head to head with Ken Levine in my brand new video game that I've designed. It took me all of 2 minutes, called Ken Levine Land. If you don't know who Ken Levine is, he's a very well-known and incredibly successful video game designer who did BioShock, BioShock Infinite, Freedom Force, System Shock 2, on and on and on and on. He is now leading up the company under Take-Two called Ghost Games, where they are trying to, I'll just say what he said so far. He's trying to figure out narrative by way of Lego pieces, but that's all I'll say. Now, I'm going to walk you through it first, and I'm going to play you a little clip from Ken, because I swear to God, this is why the stream was late today. Here's how it works. Every trivia question you answer, you get to take a space. You and Ken Levine will both start on space number 1, okay? And the first player to get to the trophy, it was something else, and Ken nixed it. He's like, you can't do that. I'm like, fine. So I put a trophy there. Are you happy, Ken? You've become the man that you detest so much. You and Ken start on space 1. Every trivia question you get right, there's 10 of them, you get to move a space forward. There are a couple of places. There's the Island of Love. There's Ken Levine Judges You. There's the Great and Mighty Ken Levine. And here's the library where Ken Levine first discovered Ayn Rand when he was but a wee lad. Oh, and you can also get stuck in the BioShock Vita Lose a Turn swamp, okay? Because that never came out. The point is, a lot of these spaces are special things. Well, Ken will propose a challenge for you, or Ken will ask you a question that he feels is important, and you see if you match wits with Ken Levine. Ken did me the favor of all this, and then let's just say your old Papa Jaffe was not recording the video screen. So I only have audio of Ken Levine, except a little bit. And the audio I did get, because I forgot to ask Ken to wear headphones, is echoed, so I had to change it. I've had to fix all this shit. Oh, that's what I've been working on, but it's going to be great. And here's a little teaser for you of me and Ken chatting, and then we will begin the show. Here's me and Ken. I tweeted this yesterday, but here, if you hadn't heard it, this is the kickoff. Ken, tell everybody about yourself if they don't know who you are.
Hey, I'm Ken Levine. I'm a creative director of BioShock, BioShock Infinite, System Shock 2, Tries Vengeance, Freedom Force, a couple other things. And I'm here to be a guest on David's stupid show.
Do you think you're the best game designer in America?
I'm certainly the best game designer in this Zoom call.
You know, fuck you. That's probably true. Fuck you. All right, fine. Let's move on, motherfucker. So that's Ken Levine, and that's pretty much how the afternoon went with Ken, just so you know. He's salt of the earth. I appreciate him doing it. We'll be doing that tomorrow or Tuesday, depending when I get it done. Last couple things I want to let you know. I've been... Listen. I've been loving the shit out of Resident Evil 3. I loved RE2 Remake. I absolutely thought it was great. And then everybody was telling me, dude, RE3 Remake is really bad. Holy shit, it's good. Holy fucking shit, it's good. I know people complain about it being short or complain about it not having the original content from the first Resident Evil 3. And in that, I can appreciate if you've got this history with it. But I never played the first Resident Evil 3. I played it for 10 minutes in the offices at Sony, and I was busy with something, and I never went back to it. This is delightful. It's fucking great. It's fucking goddamn great. And what I do like also about it is it doesn't seem to be as puzzle heavy, which I don't mind puzzles in Resident Evil games. It just feels, this one feels like they get the balance of resource management, exploration, map reading, zombie fighting. They get that alchemy a lot tighter, a lot better. So I'm loving this fucking game. I will continue to stream it. Yeah, RE3 says Zaf is hated on more than it deserves. It's a good game. I loved it. Right. I think it's great so far. Jimmy McGilchrist says I didn't care for it, Jaffe. Well, fuck you, Jimmy McGilchrist. Brian says it's a fantastic remake, and I'm seriously considering dropping it on my Steam Deck. I'll tell you why I'm playing it real quickly. It relates. So some of you guys know that I've been working a little bit, which is also why the streams have been so weird and the editing schedule has been so weird. I've been working on some high-level design work for a publisher that I might do a game with, right? So every time I start a game, and I own this 100% because I learned this the hard way with the first Twisted Metal. Every time I start a game, I find templates of games that I love. And there's 2 to 3 templates that I'm working on right now. And one of them is looking at Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 3 Remake, and going, okay, if we take this as our foundation of the house, like God of War, we did it with Onimusha and Ico and Devil May Cry. If we take Resident Evil 3 as our foundation, what do we build on top of it to make it cool? Because I think in the past, when I started designing, I would start with just the idea of the conceptual idea. And then I'd have to find the game and wrap it around that. Oh, it's exhausting. And it is so hard and it is so demoralizing. So over the years, I found this work. So not only am I getting some design work done as I play it, but more importantly, I've discovered just a fucking fantastic game. Last thing I want to tell you, I watched this last night. Deadstream is a new movie you can watch on Shudder right now. I don't know if you guys watch the Shudder. I think it's great. I'll tell you something. Deadstream, if you don't know, it's about this video streamer on like a Twitch kind of thing. And he decides to spend the night in a haunted house by himself, and he locks the doors, throws away the key, takes the spark plugs out of his car. He cannot leave. Shit starts to go south. But what's great about this movie is it has a little bit of Sam Raimi Evil Dead 1 to it, in that the tone of it is so bizarre because it goes from being genuinely funny to being really fucking scary, and it pivots consistently until the very end. It gets a little slow at the beginning until things start to pick up, and not that slow. I highly recommend it. Let us move on and talk about the actual video game news. We're going to start talking off about Mario. You got to know Tara Strong. She's most famous for doing the voice of Harley Quinn. She also, I guess, I wasn't a kid of the 90s, so I never watched Fairly Odd Parents, but she's also the voice of Timmy Turner, and she's done a bunch more. So she tweeted out a couple of interesting things about Chris Pratt doing the voice of Mario in the new movie that I'm sure you've heard. It was dropped on, I think, Friday. First off, she tweeted out just this. She's tweeted out a picture of herself and Charles Martinet, who's the guy who has been the voice of Mario since the very beginning. Quote, "It should be Charles." Then she later followed up the tweet and she said, "Voice actors. I'm going to put my heart and soul in this for at least 20 years, help sell billions in merch, make the studios millions of dollars, and make generations around the world happy." Then Hollywood says, "We don't care." And then the last thing she posted was this. She was basically saying that she wanted fans to share nice stories with Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario, because she knows that he, a certain Earth angel, could use some love right now. Charles Martinet responded, "Your love and kindness mean more than you could ever know and genuinely touch my heart. My little eyes seem to be leaking today with tender affection. Thank you." I love voice actors. I think they contribute massively to successes of things, but sometimes I do think a lot of them overstate their importance. This goes back to like when they were like negotiating with video game companies as part of the union to get residuals. And it's like, nobody cares. It's like Troy Baker's fucking the king of that world.
You're gonna be okay, baby. Stay with me. I'm gonna pick you up.
And he's amazing. And he brought Joel to life in a way that I think the game would be less because of it. But until the programmers and artists and designers are getting residuals, I don't think Troy Baker, as brilliant as he is, needs to be getting residuals, because ultimately it doesn't really make a difference. It doesn't move the needle in sales for the most part. And if you actually listen to the interview that I did with Troy last year, he kind of sort of mostly agrees. He's like, look, until the developers are getting residuals, the actors shouldn't be getting residuals. Here's what he said.
Video game industries dug in their heels. Publishers dug in their heels and said, absolutely fucking not. We already had to negotiate this with our developers and our studios that make the content for us, and we have a bonus structure in place for them. We're not going to do this with actors. So that makes any other side that's oppositional go, well, fuck you, and we'll dig in, and you'll see, look at how this game that has actors in it really sold a lot of your copies of your game, and now it becomes this huge argument. What no one is considering is the fact that if they did it, it would sink the ship.
Hello there, how are you today? It's me, Mario.
But yes, voice actors are very important and very beloved.
I wish everybody's dreams come true at Stanley's Kamikaze.
But Tara Strong is right. As much as it's obnoxious,
Mine either, you twerp.
Hollywood only comes a-knockin' after the brand has become really successful and powerful. And one of the ways the brand gets powerful, not near the main way, but one of the ways is because of the contribution of the voice actors. But even with all that said, Charles Martinet cannot open a cock-a-doodle motion picture show. No one's going to go see a movie because Charles Martinet's the star, but they will go if Chris Pratt's in it. You know, I don't have a beef against Chris Pratt. People have like, oh, here's why people hate Chris Pratt. I didn't think his voice was very good.
What is this place?
The only reason he's in that, and Tara Strong is right, because he's going to open the movie. He's going to give him more press.
Mushroom Kingdom, here we come.
And I don't know if you could sustain an hour-and-a-half movie with "It's a me, ba 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 ba." You might be able to, but I do think Chris Pratt just comes off as Chris Pratt.
What is this place?
I'm like, this doesn't even sound like it's like, here, I'll read it. Give me $5 million, I'll read it. I think his voice is fine, but I don't think it's a good creative choice, at least based on what we've heard so far. I heard they're going for a Brooklyn-style Mario, says Sebastian, instead of an Italian Mario. That may be the case, but even that, it's affected. The Mario voice doesn't sound affected. It sounds just like Chris Pratt. Charles's voice is insufferable, says JW, in small doses, to say nothing of a full-length movie. Well, you're in the minority, my good friend. It may be insufferable to you, but frankly, it's one of the most, recognizable and beloved voices in all of gaming and whatnot, and all of probably pop culture. Okay, we got Dwayne Dwayne Foy Jr. Thank you, buddy, for the super chat. He says, Charles Martinet will always be Mario, just like David Hayter will always be Snake. Great stream as always, Jaffe. Keep up the great work. Thank you, buddy, for the super chat, Dwayne. And thank you for the comment. Well, I don't agree with you, though. All it takes is a new person to show up and flip the script, and then they become what people associate. If Chris Pratt becomes, if this movie is a mega hit, suddenly people will begin to associate that voice with that character. Even though for people like you and me, we'll always remember David Hayter, Charles Martinet, I definitely think that there is a truth to the fact that that stuff is very vulnerable to reimaginings, changing the way the culture responds to it and remembers it. Ravno says, oh wait, you were right. God of War is popular because Corey, you can go fuck yourself. What I'd like you to do is go to Amazon today, order a pipe for a plumbing project. Make sure you get one from a non-reputable company so there's lots of lead in it. And then I want you to leave it outside in the rain so it rusts over the course of about 6 months. You'll have a good 6 months, and then at the end of that time period, I want you to take that pipe and I want you to ram it up your butthole. All right, fellas, let's move on to the next story. This was breaking today. The actress in the Last of Us TV show said that they encouraged her not to play the games or engage with any of the source material of The Last of Us. She's playing Ellie in The Last of Us. She said, quote, after my first audition, they asked me, have you played it? Ramsey says, nope. And they said, keep it that way. Now, I think that's pretty good. I've seen a couple of people, and that's not a big deal. I just thought, I'm sure there are more than the people that have posted, but some people are like, no, we want it to be just like Ellie in the game. I think even Pedro Pascal, who plays Joel, said he didn't really play it. He said he watched some of it on YouTube that his nephew was playing, but he didn't spend much time with it because they want to have their own interpretations of the character based on the script. I think that's kind of smart. The only thing that was a little bit weird about that to me is if you listen to interviews with someone who's playing a character from a book. I read that book, I talked to the author, I got into the essence of that character, and it's lauded when they say that. It's like, oh, they really did good prep. In this case, it's like, why did they not want you to do it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, books and games are different. You have more of an internal monologue, obviously, with books. It makes you think. I don't know where I arrive at that thinking process, but it makes me think. People are saying they don't like the casting, though, of Bella Ramsey in the chat. That's what they're saying. I don't like the visual of her. She may be a great actress, and I'm sure they hired this, forget Neil Druckmann for a minute. We don't really know what his chops are when it comes to making movies, but the guy who made Chernobyl is doing this. HBO is doing this. They know how to cast people, and I'm sure Neil had a massive contribution as well to that. I'm sure she is right for the role. But it is a little jarring that she looks so, I'll just fucking say it. She's not cute enough to be Ellie. There you go. There you go. That's the goddamn truth. Ellie is certainly never presented as some kind of like when she's older, but even when she's a kid, she's like a cute kid in the game. I just don't think that this actress has that. And I think maybe that's what people are complaining about, because what else would you complain about at this point? Because you haven't seen her perform the character. I want to tell you what's coming out this week. I want to give you guys a little bit of heads up because This game is phenomenal. I know I'm not a big Lego guy. I played about 2 hours of the last Star Wars game, and as much as I appreciated it, I got bored of it. I'm not into the Lego games. Lego Brick Tales is fucking phenomenal. There's a demo. You can play it on Steam right now. I don't know if there's a demo on consoles. It really is like playing with Legos as a kid. You've got like an isometric world you're solving puzzles and exploring, and there's a lot of things that you can't advance until you build something that will let you advance. And in those moments, the game changes to a construction set where they give you all the parts and they say, here's the red anchor for the beginning of the Lego set and here's the red anchor for the end. Anything in between, as long as it works in the world of our physics, will fly. It's just fucking great. I highly recommend it. Let us move on, shall we? Let us talk about the number 96. Have you figured out what the number 96 is yet? If you choose to play Grand Theft Auto 5 and you don't want to kill anybody, it's not possible. A YouTuber took 3 years to do a pacifist run. You can only complete Grand Theft Auto 5 if you kill at least 96 people. This guy spent 3 years trying to do it and not kill anybody. He ultimately concluded there's no way to do it. The only way to actually get through it, killing the least number of people, is you have to kill 96 people. His name was Matty Judge. Matty Judge carefully completed his, and this is from Kotaku reporting, Matty Judge carefully completed his nonviolent playthrough of one of the most depraved, stupidly bloody games ever made. Now any squeamish GTA 5 player knows the truth. To make it through the end without using any cheats or mods, you need to kill at least 96 people. Here's what he says. The hard part was dealing with NPCs and environmental elements, making sure they weren't accidentally killing others. He says he hid to avoid taking those bullets himself, crawling around to avoid aggravating the wrong characters. It took him 3 years. He has a video up. You can go watch the whole video. All right, 96 people dead. That's as low as he could go. Fuck you, Darth Nugget. 96% chance I don't give a fuck about this. You know what, bitch? James Gilchrist says, what a stupid thing to do. Uncle Fuzznut said, dude needs to touch some grass. You know what? You guys have no joy in your life. Spectre Bull says, touch grass, say the folks watching an old man talk about video game news. Oh, fuck you, Darth Nugget, you piece of shit. You motherfucker. I'm going to cut that out of the stream. He says, Jaffe doesn't stream for 3 months because there isn't enough news, and then he shows up with this. How about this for news, motherfucker? God of War Ragnarok has officially gone gold. Big enough for you, old stupid motherfucker? They tweeted this out. Sony Santa Monica tweeted this out the other day. There were some nice little nuggets. First off, they gave props to all the studios, and it's really important to see all the people involved in making these games these days. All those people came together to make this video game. And then I saw this tweet, which I just thought was a very sweet letter that Eric Williams wrote and does very much reflect the person that I know Eric Williams to be. He says, our journey, your story, a message conceived in the early days of this project. It has resonated deeply with me and reminds me how each of your stories culminated into one incredible adventure. Thank you to everyone. I will be forever grateful to all of you and the journey we've shared. Stay gold, Eric Williams. Come on now, that's a nice, Eric's salt of the earth, man. Listen to this, you guys. The number should not have been 96 now that I think about it. The number should have been 900. You might know this. Street Fighter 6 had a closed beta this weekend. I don't know how long it runs. The trial codes are in heavy demand, and not a lot of people got them. People have been selling these trial codes for up to $900. Check this shit out. We'll go to eBay right now. I think the price has come down since then. Everything from $100 to $60, and you've got $300, $400, $1,000, $1,500, $1,000. I mean, I don't know if they're expecting to get that because it's like $1,500 or best offer. But I also don't think this guy, I mean, you can buy it now for $70. I mean, at that point, I don't know why you just don't wait for the fucking game. I'm excited to play it. The open world kind of MMO-esque hub they have before matches, all the weird fucking customization, and just me having a desire to get in and learn finally how to play a Capcom fighting game. I'm excited for this title, but I ain't $900. Hell, I ain't $100 excited for this title, but I am excited for it. But simmer the fuck down now. $900 damn dollars? Jesus, even if somebody doubled it, you spent $200 on it. To what end? God, why do you need it that bad? Hell, $900, you probably get a, hell, you can probably just for $200 get a quality blowjob from a sex worker. I don't know that. I'm going to Google that. How much is a blowjob from a sex worker. Okay, let's see. Okay. I was a call girl back in the 90s. Universally accepted price. 100. I could do 100. I don't need it, but I could do 50. That's not bad. That's not bad. Let's see. For fuck's sake, I'm putting your cock in my mouth. Okay, good point. She makes a good point. I see Paula wants 60 to 100. I mean, that's not bad either. Hey, what's this? If you're on the streets, it goes for as little 10 to 20 bucks. That's better value than Game Pass. October's PlayStation Plus games have come out. They're okay. The Hot Wheels Unleashed is amazing. Fantastic game. I highly recommend it. And if you play it, I highly recommend giving it at least 20 minutes. Not because it's bad immediately, but because the drifting is so fucking much fun. But the drifting is weird, but once you get your head around the way they do drifting, it's a fucking gem. Injustice 2, I've not played. People say it's fucking excellent. And then obviously Super Hot is up there as well. Back to fucking PlayStation for a second. It's weird. So I'm a member of PlayStation Plus highest tier, which I think they call premium. And one of the reasons I wanted premium, there's a few reasons, but one of them was the trials. The trials have been, I love the idea. The problem is you don't really want to do a lot of trials with indie games because they're already kind of short. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And there's so few retail $60, $50, $60, $70 games anymore that you don't have a lot on there. I was surprised about this. Just 2 days ago, yesterday, they announced that Dying Light 2 is going to give you a 3-hour trial. And it's weird. If you go to look for it, you won't find it, oddly enough, under the trial section. You will find it, you just have to Google it, or not Google it, you have to search Dying Light 2, and then it'll bring up the free trial if you're a premium member. People are telling me it's not great. They say the best part about the game is the tutorial, and then when it opens up, it really just kind of falls apart. I'm going to play it. I'm going to stream it just to say why not. I think it'll be interesting. I'll see. I'm very curious if at the end of 3 hours, I'm going to play it for 3 hours, I'll stream it, and it's like, do I hit buy? I don't know. I'm very curious. Jaffe, why is releasing the video game demo gone away? Well, I'm glad it's gone away. It's gone away because, first off, it takes a lot of time for the dev team to carve out a demo. Even if it's just, we're going to take at 40% of the game and 49% of the game, and that's the demo. Even though they don't have to do anything but bookend it. You still have to do the work. You still have to test it. You also still have to polish the fuck out of it because people know even though it's not final, they're going to judge it. That's why you put it out there. It's a huge amount of work to work on. We did a God of War 1 demo, which I'm still super proud of to this day. And it was different. We had a lot of stuff in there that we had to do just for the demo, but I'm glad we did. These days, with things like trials, I think trials are a lot better than demos. Because frankly, if your game isn't going to interest me in the first hour or two, I don't want to play it anyway. Kojima's back at it. He's been tweeting out, who am I, where am I, with silhouettes. He's tweeting this out. The picture of this woman in silhouette says, who am I? Fans figured it out before he revealed it was Elle Fanning. She's in his new game. Okay, great. And then Kojima tweets out this. If you're listening and not looking, it's a picture of Elle Fanning inside the 360 character capture. It's not motion capture, kind of model builder, so it captures her in 360. But it looks like the game's going to be a sequel to Death Stranding because Coppercat, who's a producer at Kojima Productions, tweeted this out. So many questions. Who's excited to see what's coming next, she asks. And then she hashtags it Death Stranding. And in that, she shows that it's the Elle Fanning mystery picture of her in silhouette, then revealing that it's Elle Fanning. She puts Death Stranding in. She takes it back. She said, guys, I'd love to share your excitement, meaning that it was Death Stranding, but it was a long day. I simply failed to put a question mark at the end of a tag. Bullshit. We absolutely know there's a Death Stranding sequel. Death Stranding is a incredibly special game. It is very cool. It is very powerful, emotional. It's unique, it's strange, but it's also boring as shit. Man, I just could not muster the energy to play for more than 3 or 4 hours. It just moved a little bit too slow for me, literally and figuratively. I'm not the only one with that complaint, I know, and I wonder if Kojima is going to take those criticisms to heart and maybe give it a little bit of a shot of adrenaline. Although, to be perfectly fair, if you look at the completion rate of open world titles on PlayStation, this is a little bit less than a year ago. Death Stranding's not doing too bad. It's in the top 10. It goes Spider-Man, Tsushima's 2, AC Origins, Far Cry 5 is 4, Days Gone is 5, Horizon Zero Dawn 6, AC Odyssey 7, Witcher 3, 8, and then sitting at number 9 at 28.6% people who played it completed it, is Death Stranding. So maybe Kojima's like, fuck you, you stupid American. I'm going to do what I want to do. Yeah. Calisto Protocol, which is my most anticipated game of the year, is going to be around 12 to 14 hours. There's going to be some beta paths, according to good Sir Glenn Schofield. There's some beta paths, he says, that will add replay beyond maxing out weapons and the like. Regarding these, he states, they came later in the game, but some of them are so freaking cool, and we don't tell you where they are or how many there are, but if you really explore, it may be a longer game. This kind of game, which is a narrative-based game, I would rather have no fat and send me off on a great high note of, fuck, that was fucking cool from start to finish. I've seen a lot of people online kind of agreeing with that, going, yeah, it's a linear horror game, it shouldn't be a 40-hour epic. But I have seen some people, and I don't know if it's generational in terms of what gamers have gotten used to, saying $60, $70 for 14 hours, you fucking shitting me? But that may not be generational. That may just be that there's always those people that associate quality with length, and that's not even wrong or bad. I mean, some people do make their purchasing decisions because I'm only going to be able to buy 2 games this year, and I want to get a whole fucking heap load of entertainment out of it. And I get that. But for me, I can tell you, I think horror does its best when it gets in, gets out, and scares the fuck out of you and makes you disturbed in that in-between period. So this is good news for me. You see this? This was an interview that Hermen Hulst, the head of PlayStation, did the interview. We'll find out. But I just want to play this, what he says about service games. This was interesting.
I think going forward, we'll see at least a year between releases on our own platform, on PlayStation, and on the PC platform, possibly with the exception of live service games. Live service games are a little bit different in nature because you want to have really strong community, strong engagement right away, right when you go live. So we might, in the case of our live service offerings, go day and date with PC and the PlayStation platform.
2 things are interesting about this. The first one is, of course, them pretty much saying most games will be out in a year. They're in a real pickle, man. Sony has built this industry up and pulled this industry into the mainstream and really redefined certain genres. In doing all of that, they've really painted themselves into a very weird space that they can't sustain. People always say Gamepass is not sustainable. I don't think Sony PlayStation first party as is sustainable. The service-based game stuff is absolutely right. You have to launch that on day one. He says something like, we'll be putting even some of our beloved franchises on there, which I assume he's thinking of Twisted, maybe SOCOM. I know he's thinking of Twisted. But he's like, and maybe those will work, maybe those won't, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that he even said that, some are going to work, some are not, they are spaghetti methoding it. But I have to show you this, and I'm not picking on this individual game. It is Multiversus. They got great reviews, great brand IP, lot of hype, lot of marketing. You can do everything right. It has 4,500 players right now. I've watched this over the last couple of days. I was prepping the stream. It peaked 2 months ago on launch week at 153,000 concurrent players. That's a hell of a drop in a very short amount of time. It's following a downward trajectory, and I don't think it's ever going to get close to being the mega hit that it looked like it was going to be out of the gate. That world to be successful in service-based games, I don't think it's as random as it seems. I don't think it has to be as lightning in a bottle as it seems, but it seems like you better fucking factor the lightning in a bottle into it, because even though there will be people on the internet that come at me and say, no, it's totally explainable. Fuck you. No, it's not. If it was, you wouldn't be having these problems. You wouldn't be having these games collapsing in on themselves 2 months after they launched. Multiversus was well-reviewed, great IP, in a genre that is not saturated. There's only Smash, and you have to have a specific hardware for that. And then there's Brawlhalla, which is a nice, consistent hit, but is nowhere near the quality title and the IP brand value that Multiversus is. You tell me if you would have sat in a boardroom and said no to that game when it was presented, especially when you knew it would review well and come in at 80 at Metacritic. Explain to me in the comments, please, what you see that so many of us don't, that you could have known day one to not greenlight this thing. I bring it up only because the road that Sony is going down is pretty interesting, because they're going to have to succeed traveling down this new path that no one has been able to make a repeatable roadmap for. It is going to be fascinating to watch what kind of spaghetti Sony throws at the wall in hopes of seeing something stick. Are they going to go for these little Among Us style, Fall Guy style shot in the dark? Are they going to go more Ubisoft kind of middle ground like Rainbow Six and For Honor? Not that that's a guarantee. There have been plenty of games like Ubisoft's, what was it called, Hyperscape or something, that totally tanked. But there's kind of a safe area where you can play, it seems, and you can do good enough to sustain, maybe. Sony struggled with this for a long time. They just haven't been able to crack it. I'm sure Bungie's going to be a big help in that area, but hell, Microsoft can't crack it either. Who would have thought Halo Infinite, great as it is, would have been a title that, for most part, a lot of gamers have kind of moved on from. And then you have, obviously, the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Or is that the elephant? Somebody's in the room and he's big. Basically Fortnite. They just become such massive juggernauts that I think to try to even chase that would be an absolute waste of your time, because no one could have predicted Fortnite. That's just an impossible claim if somebody makes it. So I'll leave you today with this. You know how people are with their console wars, and I hope if you've listened to me long enough, you know I don't give a shit about all that. I just find all of this fascinating. I'm interested how the culture shifts around the business of games, the art of games. A fella, I don't know him, Cult Bullshit Mafia is his name. He seems to be an Xbox fan. He tweeted this out that I thought was pretty, honestly, on the nose. Gamepass came out today with some figures saying that they made $2.9 billion in revenue in 2021. No one obviously knows what it costs to run that part of the business. So is it profitable or not? Who the fuck knows? Not us, but that's still a lot of money regardless. And this guy quotes, or this guy says, Phil Spencer is over there saying Game Pass is sustainable as it is, which is obviously a callback to the fact that so many people have been taking the piss out of Game Pass saying it's not sustainable. And then he quotes this, which I actually think, it's kind of true. He says if that's Phil Spencer saying Game Pass is sustainable as it is, he has Hermen Hulst and Jim Ryan saying, we will be doing 10 live service games. We need to stop Xbox from getting Call of Duty. We need to port more games to PC because frankly, our first party games just don't make enough and are not sustainable. And it doesn't mean one side wins, one side, fuck, I don't care. What am I? Oh, just get over yourselves, you fucking children. But it is interesting in that as much as people want to beat up on what Xbox is doing, Sony seems to be like firing every bullet in the chamber just to stay above water. Interesting. That said, though, can't wait for God of War. Very, very excited for God of War, man. And all their first party stuff. I'm a fan. I'm just calling it like I see it. Fellas, Filettis, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for experimenting with this new format of Gabbing Games. Let me know what you think in the comments or just when I see you online. Do we like it? Do we hate it? Regardless, be well, be safe out in the big bad world, and come back soon and hang out with your Papa Jaffe, and let's talk about the greatest thing in the goddamn world, video games.